You're listening to the Rainmaking Podcast, hosted by high-stakes headhunter, author, and professional speaker, Scott Love.
You're listening to the Rainmaking Podcast, and my name is Scott Love. Thanks for joining me on the show. My guest today is Jim Packard, who's been helping those in business get business for decades. He's a leading expert and an author in the area of client development. He and I talk about the lifetime value of a client. What does that mean to you? When you think of lifetime value, are you talking about how much you can get from someone, or how deeply can you build that relationship where there's a mutual satisfaction of needs? That's the right sort of perspective, and Jim and I discuss that as well. We also give reference to Jay Abraham, who's a leading management consultant in the area of client development and sales, who's the author of Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got. That's a book I'd highly recommend that you listen to. Also, check out Jim Packard's books. We'll put those links on the show notes as well. As always, this show is sponsored by Leopard Solutions, Legal Intelligence Suite of Products, Firmscape, and Leopard BI. Push ahead of the pack with the power of Leopard. And now here's my conversation with my friend, Jim Packard. Thanks for listening. Hey, this is Scott Love with the Rainmaking Podcast. Our guest today is Jim Packard, and we're talking about the lifetime value of a client. Jim, thanks for joining me on the show today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Scott.
I appreciate your background, and I want to get into that, but I like this topic title, the lifetime value of a client. Let me ask you this. What do you think that means to most people? What do you think that means to you, and how can we get more value from our clients?
Well, when I started my business, there was just three of us, technician and two salespeople. We go, what do we do with the technician all day? We didn't have enough machines for him to service. We started a copier company. And we said, well, I'll have Ronnie just go visit the accounts we do have on a regular basis. Found out that the customers loved it. We were really over-servicing. We worked so hard to get a customer, yet so little time is spent in nurturing those customers. And that's what we did. We nurtured our customers to a point where we were visiting 122 hours per week when we sold the company.
Wow. So what do you think happens if we don't nurture our customers? What do you think the downside is if we just don't take care of them like that?
I think they go by the wayside. They'll leave. You don't even know they've left. Your competitors will gobble them up because they didn't feel appreciated. You literally had forgotten those particular customers.
Yep, exactly. Seems like business has become much more competitive lately, right?
I tell you what, it was competitive back when I started my business too.
Right. And so what was one thing that you learned through the course of your career that really helps you to get closer to your customers and clients and really increase that lifetime value? What's the biggest lesson that you learned out of that?
Get to stay in touch with them. For every month that goes by where you don't have contact with your client, you lose 10% of your influence, Scott.
Oh, wow.
You think about it. Even if you bought a house, if you lost contact with that client, all right, you've lost that client. It literally, every month that goes by where you don't have a contact, you lose 10% of your influence. And it's so true.
Yeah. So I like that mathematical perspective. How did you come up with that?
I've always been a student of, personal growth, and I've been a great reader and studier and taken all kinds of courses. And it probably was way back in my Dale Carnegie days, someplace back there where I learned that.
Yeah, right. I like that. So that means after 10 months, you're gone.
Yeah.
You're gone. You got nothing.
I tested that once. I lived in a beautiful area in Scottsdale called DC Ranch, and they had a little coffee shop downtown. And I wanted to see if people knew who their realtor was. So I would ask people that came in the coffee shop, when did you buy your house? And they would tell me. Because if you bought your house more than 2 years ago, right, people don't remember the name of their realtor. And I would ask them that question, do you know who your realtor was? And they had to think they didn't know because the realtor never stayed in touch with them.
Wow. That's a big transaction.
That's the biggest, probably one of the biggest purchases, if not the biggest, most people ever make.
Yeah, right. So what was the lesson that you learned from that?
I was not going to take one of our clients, I would not take their business for granted. All right. I was not going to allow that to happen to me. And I didn't. And I haven't. So,
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I can tell that you seem very conscientious about that. For people listening today, for them to kind of get their arms around this and they say, that makes sense to me. Where should they spend time focusing with those client relationships? What do you think the big rocks in the bucket are, so to speak, about where they should spend time with them?
80% of the time is going out looking for new clients.
Yeah.
And only 20% are nurturing the old ones. I would reverse that. I would spend time nurturing your clients, because your clients, first of all, you have a 70% better chance of selling to your existing clients than going out and looking for a new one, right?
Yeah.
Forget about referrals. I mean, we all get referrals from satisfied customers. And if they know that you're taking care of it and they can count on you and you're visiting them or whatever you're doing, or contact them every single month, when they find somebody that's looking for your type of services, they're apt to give it to you.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. 80% is looking for new clients, 20% nurturing new ones. Reverse it. Put that on its head. Do different. Yeah. Well, that's great. We can start with that as we go down this rabbit hole. So let's say a professional says, I'm going to do this. I'm going to spend 80% of my business development time nurturing my existing clients and 20% trying to find new ones. How do you think their month would look? Where do you think they should focus then in terms of action steps to do that?
Well, certainly you can use everybody's using social media today, whether it be LinkedIn or Facebook or what have you. All right. I would suggest that they use more of a physical touch, and it could be as simple as sending a greeting card.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. That's a unique, innovative idea that most people don't think of today. Sending them a greeting card. So what do you mean by that exactly? What should I do? Should I go send Valentine's Day cards? What do you think?
Well, first of all, a greeting card's a very special thing when you pick it out and you send it to somebody. But I'll give you a great example. In March, I sent all our clients a greeting card, and on the front of it, it says, "I don't want your business." Now, when they opened it up, it says April Fools. And they received it, I tried to get them all there on April 1st day. We just had the 4th of July celebration. I sent out all kinds of, 4th of July cards. But if you're looking for a reason to send a card, it's all around you. I mean, it could be from birthdays to anniversaries. When I owned my copier business, we were looking to stay in touch with our clients. Now, we had our technician that was visiting once a week. We had our customer service reps that were visiting every single month, taking supply orders, delivering flavored popcorn. All right. Every month they go in with a different brand of popcorn or different flavor. But I got the idea. I started sending the copiers birthday cards, and our clients loved it. Because, I mean, you imagine sitting there, all of a sudden you get a birthday card. And it says, "It's not my birthday." It says, "Happy birthday. Your copier is 3 years old today."
That's hilarious. I love it. I love that sense of humor. That's great. That's a great idea, sending cards. And I do, whenever I send a thank you note to a client, whether it's somebody that hired me to speak at a conference or a placement I'll make, I'll send like a handwritten note on the back of a painting. I'm a watercolor artist. So I'll do a small card size watercolor. I do a lot of birds or mountain scenes. And just with the thank you note, like, "I appreciate your business," or "Thank you for your business." What do you think about something more personal like that, Jim?
Well, I first of all, I think that's a great idea. I could take those pictures of birds and put them on a greeting card for you very quickly.
Oh, we should talk.
Okay, I could do that. Yeah, absolutely. If you put a personal item with it, for example, I had a client here in Phoenix that was sending out Starbucks cards in their greeting cards, thanking people for the business during the holidays. And I remember visiting with them and saying, "I have an idea for you. Let's send a greeting card with a 4-pack box of brownies." Now, the 4-pack box of brownies and the greeting card was less money than the $20 Starbucks card. And if you think about it, if you sent the Starbucks card, only one person gets to utilize that card. Whereas 4 people got to eat the brownies. It was a big bang for our buck. That particular company ended up ordering $150,000 worth of brownies from me in 1 month.
Wow. That's great, Jim. I like the thought that you put into that too. What are some other things we should do if we want to keep connected with our clients, social media, a physical touch, like with the greeting cards or other small gifts like that? What are some other things that you think help build that relationship?
I think an occasional phone call,
Yeah.
just to pick up the call and say, "Hey, I was thinking about you." I mean, it doesn't. I mean, how many you can, and even if you don't get them, even if you get their voicemail, you can leave a voicemail message. It's just another contact. The greeting card's a great idea because only 3% of mail is personal. 97% of the mail you get is junk mail or things that you didn't ask for.
Yeah.
And only 3% is personal.
It's almost like direct mail now is the best way because they're going to get it and nobody else is sending them anything.
Yeah. No, it stands out.
Yeah, it really does. What do you think some of the pitfalls are that most people have when it comes to keeping in touch with clients?
Well, the biggest challenge that I find with our clients is that they don't have their addresses, right? And so somehow they have to collect those addresses for our system to work with them. And there's only one way to get that address, and that is you have to ask them for it.
Yeah, right.
I would call you and say, "Scott, and do me a favor. If I want to send something to you, but I don't know where to send it, can you tell me? Can you give me your address? Well, what would be a good address to send this gift I have for you? You can get it. It just takes time. That's all."
Yeah, that's good. I like that idea. And I know clients do also. I think in the business world today, it is so much easier to keep clients, but there's so much competition out there. I mean, I'm sure there always was. Maybe I'm just more aware of it. Maybe I'm more aware of it nowadays. We landed a new client and working with them on a close basis. And I was explaining to my colleague, Janine, during our first reporting call where we're talking about what we do, that I want to take this so seriously because I appreciate the business, but I know that the day you sign a client is kind of like the day you start to lose them. There's going to be a bigger fish right behind you. And you want to continue to show that good service every interaction. Every interaction, you want them to say, "I'm really glad I hired this person to help me with that." But go ahead.
There's an old saying that says business goes where it wants to, but stays where it's appreciated.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Tell me about it.
It's so true. It's like feeling gratitude and not expressing it. It's like wrapping a present and not giving it away. I mean, it's so easy to absolutely.
Yeah. And I think when you're in a business, like I'm in the recruiting business where it is personal, I'm moving professionals, partners in big firms to another firm. And that's very personal with them. And then with the firms, I get to know their leaders. And it's just nice to be kind of, I wouldn't say along the ride after you make that placement, but just to be the one that made that introduction that continues to earn that trust that hopefully spins off into other things. But let me ask you this. Are there any trends that you've seen made it easier or more difficult to stay in touch with people since COVID? What do you think?
Since COVID, wow. I read a statistic recently that said before COVID, there was 2,000 coaches and consultants. Since COVID, it's over 6.5 million.
Yeah, right.
I mean, so everybody's now a coach. And, I'm amazed by how many people I talk to, and they run businesses and they're looking for ways to retain their clients. But here's something that's so simple and so easy that they just don't do it. I mean, it's amazing to me. And it's such an easy thing to get started with and just do on a regular basis. We can set up things like campaigns. So if you get a client, it can be an automatic 3-card campaign. It can be a 12-card campaign. It can be one at a time. It doesn't matter. All right. It's just staying in touch with them on a regular basis.
That's great. Are there any systems or any structure that we should keep in mind when we do this? Like you talked about a 3-card campaign or a 12-card campaign. What do you think about that?
I have been using the same system for over 20 years. And I can give you the link if you want me to, but it is a great system. I mean, I literally I wrote a book on this. Okay,
Well, tell me about that.
I wrote a book, and it's called the Consistency Chain and we wrote another one called the Consistency Chain for Network Marketing. But they're both on Amazon. But just to do something on a consistent basis, I send out at least one greeting card every single day.
Oh, wow.
Now, some days I might send out 2 or 3, but I send one out every single day. Yeah, I mean, you'll be getting a card from me after this. All right. All right. It's just something that I've trained myself to do. My pipeline is completely full as a result of doing it. People get the cards. They love the cards. All right. You feel good when you send it, but they feel great when they receive it also.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. One greeting card every single day.
Yeah. I take Saturdays and Sundays off,
right.
but I do it every work day.
And by the way, for everybody else listening, we're going to put the book, The Consistency Chain. We'll put the link for you to order that on the show notes. So just go to wherever you hear this podcast and you'll be able to order that. And tell me, have you ever done any research on this? Like, what are the best practices that other people use to stay connected with their clients?
Yeah, I obviously have competitors. There's a gentleman that wrote a book called Giftology that is he's tremendous. I mean, he'll send steak knives. I mean, he'll send all kinds of great items. Mine are very small. They're like brownies, cookies, things in that line. But there is competition out there. But I would tell you that the service that I use is the post office largest customer for first-class stamps. They've done over 200 million greeting cards with the post office.
Oh, wow.
So it's 200 million. That's right. Yeah,
that's insane. No, you mentioned that there was a system that you use. There was a link you could share with us. Which system is that?
It's called sendoutcards.com / you're going to love this, Rainmaker. So it's sendoutcards.com / Rainmaker.
Yeah, we'll put that link in the show notes also.
So you can go to that link and just try it. I mean, for $5, you can send 3 cards out. So it's not expensive, but it's a great service.
That's great. And I think I may have used that or received cards from people before. Tell me about that system. What does it do about that makes it easy for us?
Well, you go to the website, you find the greeting card that's appropriate to send. You select it, you type your message. You can actually type your message in your own handwriting.
Oh, wow.
You hit the button that says send, and they print it, stuff it, and mail it for you.
Oh, wow. That's easy.
It's all done for you. Now, some of their programs even come with virtual assistants. So you'll have virtual assistant to help with with creating whatever you want to.
Wow. That's a really interesting tool.
Yeah, they just introduced that on May 4th, and that's an invaluable service.
So do you think then, because I'm kind of curious about your thoughts with COVID, do you think it made it easier for us to be able to keep in touch? Do you think that more people want that now than before?
Yeah, I think so. I think with COVID, it gave you a whole different ballpark. I mean, people now work from their homes, right? They don't have the office buildings. I mean, my partner and I, who we wrote the Consistency Chain, we were doing venues where we would go to companies and do our routine. But now there's not so many venues to have. Now they're all Zoom calls. Yeah, I think with COVID, it's really helped our business tremendously.
That's great. Now, what do you think are some things that professionals shouldn't do? Like, what are the absolute no-nos when it comes to keeping in touch with people?
They just don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, you think about it. You don't touch base with anybody. You don't talk to anybody. You take their business for granted. I mean, there's 2 reasons why you lose business. They either forget you or they think you took their business for granted. Those are the 2 major reasons why somebody doesn't do business with you. Oh, and wow. I was just not going to allow that to happen with the companies that I'm involved with.
Have you ever seen any data on what happens when a company does start making that connection a priority?
No, that would be interesting. I know there's a book out that Never Lose a Customer Again. And it's they say that 70% of businesses lose their business within the first 100 days of getting the business.
Wow.
Now think about it. I mean, 70% of your business you lose within the first 100 days of getting the business. And you don't even know you've lost it. They've just gone on. Yeah.
That's a waste, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you mentioned Jay Abraham when we talked earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about some of the concepts that you've learned from him. I know he's done very well in bringing creative ideas for client development to the business world. What are some of the concepts that you learned from Jay Abraham?
Yeah, I really enjoy him. He had a contest a few years ago where he was picking out the 30 most unique products to market in the world, that type of business. And the product that I had invented was selected. And I'll show you the product if you want.
Yeah, tell me about it. Let's see it.
This is the product. Tell me if you have any idea what this is.
No, I don't. And for those of you that are on audio, we'll put the video where you can see the show notes so you can see that.
All right. It's a device that holds a cord of a mouse so that when you use the mouse, the cord doesn't get hung up on your desk.
Oh, that's great.
We sold millions of these on QVC. All right. And all it is, it's plastic, two springs, ball bearing, and it just allows you to move the mouse without the cord getting all hung up. Now, that idea came from Jay Abraham, because if you remember, your mother used to have an iron that looked like this, and it had the cord, with a little spring to it that kept it out of the way. And some of his dealings in one of his book, he says, look at other industries, see what made them successful. Because if you can look at one industry that's been successful and you can apply what's made them successful to your industry, what might be as common as Stewart in their industry might have the effect of an atomic bomb going off in your industry. So I looked at that. I mean, even my greeting cards, here it is. Here's a great example of a greeting card. All right. And when you open it up, there's a little envelope inside, and out comes, and the punchline's out in a little envelope. That concept came from the Cracker Jack box. Remember these? They had a little gift inside of it.
That's what is inside. Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's where we came up with the idea of the little envelope inside the card from the Cracker Jack box. But from a more practical thing, when we sold our company, we went to a sandals resort, and we treated everybody. That's where you go in, you put your wallet in the safe, and everything's paid for, right?
Right.
Well, I thought, what a great concept. All right. I wonder if we can apply this to our business. So when I got back, in the old days, you used to buy a copier, you used to buy the maintenance agreement, you used to buy the supplies, all right? And everybody was fighting for that business. Well, we came up with the idea of a cost per copy, where I'd put a copier in your office, charge you a nickel a copy at the end of the month. You tell me how many copies you ran, I'll charge you a nickel for every copy that you made. You have no bill for maintenance, no bill for the machine, and no bill for the supplies.
Wow.
And that all came from concepts out of his book.
That's great. That's great, Jim. I mean, that's really interesting. And I know Jay Abraham, because I've read some of his books too. He really does look at ideas that you get from one industry that success is applicable. And I think
I get to spend a whole week with him.
Oh, really? Wow. Tell me about that.
And, that was amazing. It was, we were in Maine at the time. We flew to California, and we sat around with the 29 other people that all had unique products. I brought my product, of course, gave one to everybody in the room. All right. They loved it. And I got to spend a whole week just listening to his philosophy. And he's a brilliant guy. He's absolutely amazing.
And for those of you listening that don't know who Jay Abraham is, we're going to put links about him and some of his resources in the show notes also. I think one of the concepts I learned from him, Jim, it was in his book, Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got. I don't know if I got the title of the book right, but it was something like that. And he said, if you want to double your income, do these three things all at the same time. Increase your value by 25%, increase the number of customers you have by 25%, and increase the frequency that they buy a product from you by 25%. So if they're buying 4 products from you, sell them 1 more, increase the value by 25%. If you've got 4 customers, get 1 more customer. If you do those 3 things, you've doubled it. I use that same concept in the recruiting industry when I taught recruiters about candidate flow. I said, increase the amount of time you spend on the phone by 25%. What does that mean? Come in 15 minutes early, stay 15 minutes later, and reclaim 15 minutes of goof off time in the morning and reclaim 15 minutes of goof off time in the afternoon. If you're doing 4 hours on the phone, that's an extra hour. And you've only come in 15 minutes early and stayed 15 minutes late, and that's the only change. You're just more aware of how you spend your time to recoup it. I said, that's one. I said, second, get more effective at your salesmanship, building trust, earning rapport, making a good pitch, moving people forward, increase your skills, your effectiveness. And the third was this, increase the throughput, the number of connects per hour. If you're talking to 4 people in an hour, squeeze out one more call. And I came up with a tool called the telephone discipline tool, where people would highlight, I want to have 5 boxes. Nowadays, you might only get 3 calls per hour, but by setting that hourly intention, the odds of hitting that goal are much more likely, because now they're just aware at how they're spending their time on an hour by hour basis. And that concept came from Jay Abraham. And I use that to this day in my recruiting practice, which came from him. So I think it's interesting that you talked about him today. And do you know the concept of geometric expansion from his books?
Yeah, that's obviously where you got it from.
Yeah.
He talks about there's only 3 ways to grow a business. You think there's 1,000 ways, but there's only 3 ways. It's get more customers, get them to come back more often, or get them to purchase larger amounts. And he uses the example of McDonald's, where if McDonald's wants more customers, they just advertise more, right? If you want them to get a larger purchase, then ask them if they want fries with that order. That increases their business, their profit by 35%.
Right.
Or if you want them to come back more often, offer more things like salads and breakfasts and things in that line. And unfortunately, we don't all have the marketing budgets that McDonald's have, so we have to be creative in our thinking. And this is, his whole book there's so much to it. I mean, I love it. That's the book I take with me when I go on vacations.
Yeah, it's such a good book. I've read it a few times also. And Jim, we're running out of time here, but let me ask you this then. If people could do 3 things, what are 3 action steps you think they should take to really keep their customers top of mind and really to understand how to increase that lifetime value of a client?
I would visit the website, sendoutcards.com/Rainmaker.
Yeah.
All right. That's the first thing. I just go visit the site and look at the site and see if it's something you could utilize. If it is, subscribe to, just send out 3 cards, that program, just to try it if you wanted to. Thirdly, contact me, because I'd love to talk to them. I'd love to find people that value their customer base.
That's great. And we're going to put all your contact info on the show notes, including your LinkedIn address. And tell us about your services, Jim. What are the offerings that you have? What are the things that you do that you'd like our listeners to know about you?
I am a product of the product. I use it every single day. It's the only thing that I market today. All right. It is the customer retention aspect of it. So I walk the walk and talk the talk, I guess you could say.
That's great, Jim. Well, we're going to put all of your info in the show notes, along with the links for the books that you've written. I appreciate you being here and for offering some really good ideas for us today. And I'd love to have you back on the show in the future, Jim.
Well, thank you. I'd love to come back.
Thank you for listening to the Rainmaking Podcast. For more information about our recruiting services for international law firms, visit our website at attorneysearchgroup.com. To inquire about having Scott speak at your next convention, conference, sales meeting, or executive retreat, visit theRainmakingPodcast.com.